studying at that time, I can do it really quick. And if I'm not willing to do, I won't.
So everyone, like, you know, Aisha's parents and teachers just wish that Aisha is in a good mood on a biology exam. If she's in a good mood, she's going to just do awesome.
Yeah, you can say like that.
Yes.
Nice
Okay,
to meet
Afifa.
you.
Yes, Afifa.
Hi, my name is Afifa Manan, and I'm from Saudi.
And what do you like about biology? What do you want to do with biology?
I've taken biology to become a doctor. The thing I like about biology is how it's connected with everything, like all the interrelations. They're fun to learn.
Yes, they are fun. So at least for someone, biology is fun. So Afifa, you and me have the responsibility, of course, along with Aisha, to make it fun and interesting for Nida. Okay, the learning process.
Yes.
Okay, so quickly, Nida, I have introduced myself, and we have introduced each other. I'll quickly introduce you to the way I conduct my classes of biology. So the first thing that's very important, okay, I think Aisha and Afifa already know this, but you should know that my classes are going to be a dialogue. Okay, it has to be discussive. That's the first rule. If I am happy teaching you, you have to be happy learning, and then biology will be all fun and not boring. So whatever fundamentals we will discuss, whatever concepts we will take up in that particular class to learn, your involvement and your discussions has to come, regardless of the fact, even if you don't know something. When I ask that what do you think logically, so you should answer. You know, do not hesitate in answering thinking that I may be answering wrong. Okay, so that's the first thing. And second thing is, just like you said, Nida, you're there, Nida, am I audible?
Yes.
Because this is specifically to you. The others are aware of this thing, that in biology there are basically two types of questions that we ask also in science. One is the what part. Okay, so what are we studying, what is happening, what is this, what is that, and that what part is covered if we understand the words. Like the terminology is very important in biology. The word terminology means study of words, study of terms. Okay, in biology there are many words which are repeated multiple times in multiple places, in multiple scenarios, but they mean similar things. Is it, do you understand, Nida? For
Yes.
example, you must have read the word cytoplasm, right? I just give this one example because it's easy. You know what does the word cyto means always in biology? Any idea, Nida?
No.
Aisha, what does the word cyto means? Aisha, am I audible to you? She's not in the mood, I guess. Okay, let's go to Afifa. Afifa, am I audible to you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, what does the word cyto means in biology?
Cyto means cell.
Yes, cyto means cell. Is it okay, Nida? Do you understand? The word cyto means cell,
Yes.
and the word plasm means fluid. Okay. So if I ask you what is cytoplasm, if I ask the what question here, that what is cytoplasm, will you be able to answer now if you understand the word? Cytoplasm is the fluid content of the cell. Whatever is present inside the cell, which fills the cell, is cytoplasm. Is it clear, Nida?
Yes.
Does it become a little easier and you do not have to memorize it right from the beginning as a definition? Yes.
Yes.
There is another word associated called cytokinesis. Now, can you guess what does this term means? What is, if the question comes, what is cytokinesis? Can you tell me what is cytokinesis? At least you know what cyto means now, right, Nida? What does cyto means?
Cell.
And what does kinesis means? Kinesis means breaking up or splitting up or divide. To divide is kinesis. So what is cytokinesis means?
Cell division.
Yes, it means cell division. Is it clear?
Yes.
So this is just an example to tell you that terminology, if we understand, and if we will be understanding a lot of terminologies. So what you have to do is you have to leave the first few pages of your notebook, and you will maintain a notebook for biology. Leave the first few pages vacant, because there we will be making a terminology section where you will write terms on one side and their meanings on the other side. So the motive of this practice is that by the end this session is over, like by the end we cover the syllabus, you will have a mini dictionary of your own, from which if you are referring terms of biology, it becomes easier for you to understand a lot of terms. Is it clear, Nida? So a lot of boringness from the biology gets out the moment you start understanding the terms. Okay, cool.
So by the way, I wanted to say.
Yes, Aisha.
So my exams are my unit test is gonna start from 22 June. And
20,
this, yeah.
22 June.
Yeah.
Okay.
My first exam is bio.
And
It's a unit test, so they will end it something till 26.
okay, but it's in June, right? We have time.
Yeah, and we have 2 chapters.
Which is
Reproduction in flowers and our human beings.
yeah, it will be covered way before that. Don't worry about it. Okay. Yes. So first thing is the what part. Is it clear to everyone? The second thing that we ask or we study is how. Whatever is happening, how is it happening? What is the mechanism behind it? Okay. So what is cytokinesis, if it is a process, and how cytokinesis happens? Do you understand? Now this how part includes a lot of concepts, and to understand those biological and scientific concepts, we go through discussions. Okay, and this is where you have to perform and participate in the class. So I hope both the rules are clear to you, Nida. It's very simple. You just have to be vocal and you have to participate. Okay, and make a terminology section. Yes, shall we begin then? Nida, Afifa, and
Yes.
Aisha. Okay, perfect. So the first unit, which is not actually the first unit, if you see your NCERT, your first unit is numbered as sixth unit, right? So unit 6 and chapter first is all about reproduction. So this unit is about reproduction, and I'll be starting with the first chapter, which is the basic introduction to reproduction in organisms. Now to understand reproduction, and I'll take you back to class 11th first, and I'll ask you one simple question. You have studied in class 11th and other junior classes that there are certain activities that living systems do, right? Which is known as life processes, correct? Remember studying life processes?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Aisha, what is life process? Quickly, just a revision for you.
Life process, it's the process in which it doesn't involve only what we are saying. It involves humans evolution. It involves what we are saying.
Evolution is not a life process.
No, sorry. I'm sorry again. Yeah. I mean to say is like how we can say the human is alive,
like life process is not only associated with human. So if you
it's associated with every living thing.
Yes. So there are two terms. Okay. Again, whenever you have a confusion about anything, so Aisha knows this because I know that Aisha knows because I have taught her this thing in last class as well. But the point is how to put it forth. So the word life and process, there are two things, life and process. Okay, everyone. Life is clear. Now process is some activity. So technically and very easily, life processes are those activities or processes that a living system do or undergoes or carries out to maintain and sustain the life. Is it clear, everyone? Nida, Aisha, and Afifa?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So what are such activities which you think which are necessary to maintain or sustain life?
Respiration.
Yes, respiration. So respiration is a life process, right? And
Sir, metabolism.
metabolism is a life process, right? And
Growth.
growth is done by living systems. Is reproduction a life process?
No.
Yes.
No. Why is reproduction not a life process?
Yeah, it is.
Yes. Okay. So reproduction is a life process. Everyone agrees that it is a life process because it is carried out by living organisms, right? Living systems do reproduction, just like they do respiration, metabolism, growth, and reproduction. But it is a life process, but what it is not. I think Aisha said no because I have taught that. Remember, there were two things in this chapter. One was life process, and second was the defining characteristic property of life.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So respiration and metabolism are characteristic defining properties of life. If an organism does not respire or does not metabolize, it will die, right? It will not survive without these activities. But can an organism live without reproduction?
Yes.
Yes, Nida, what do you think? Can an organism live without reproducing?
Yes.
Yes, right? We all, every organism which is born cannot reproduce till a certain age. It can only reproduce after it reaches a certain age, right? But till that time, it is alive. And even if an organism does not reproduce ever, it will still be alive and will die, living a full life. Then why is reproduction important? If it is not a characteristic property of life, so reproduction is not a characteristic property of life, then why it is important? Afifa.
To maintain the continuation of species.
Yes, so the main thing is continuation of species. So reproduction helps in something called continuation of species according to Afifa. Now my question to you is, this is something which we know from book. Now, what do we mean by continuation of species? That when parents die, they will leave offsprings, right? Which are similar to them, which belongs to the same species, which are their own kids. And when they will die, they will continue their species. Correct, Afifa?
Yes.
This is where we come to, yes, this is where we come to defining reproduction. So let's write one definition and then we'll talk about it. Write down. Reproduction is the process by which organisms, reproduction is the process by which organisms produce offsprings. Organisms produce offsprings. Which are similar to their parent, which are similar to their parents in their adult form. In their adult form. Okay. Now everyone has written.
No, sir.
Or reproduction is the process by which organisms produce offsprings which are similar to their parents in their adult form. Is it done?
Yes.
Now, reproduction is of two types. Like broadly, we categorize
Yes.
reproduction. Yes, reproduction is of two types. Can you name the types? The broad classification. What are the two types of reproduction? This you have already studied. Yes, Nida.
Sexual and asexual reproduction.
Yes, asexual and sexual reproduction. Okay. Now, before I move forward to the in-depth of these modes, let me see what you already know about these forms. So let's start with asexual first. What do you already know about asexual mode? Tell me. Asexual mode of reproduction. Tell me bullet points that you know.
Hey, is it for Nida or for everyone?
Yeah, it's what? What do you say?
You're asking to Nida or to everyone?
Yeah, it's for all. When I'll ask it specifically, I'll name. I specifically only ask when no one is answering, so I have to pick someone. Yes, Aisha, please. What are the points that you are already aware of about asexual mode of reproduction?
In a sexual reproduction, only one parent, that is only one sex is involved. Then
Yes.
what we are saying, there may or may not be gametogenesis happening. Then
Yes, so only one parent is involved, or you use the word only one sex is involved, right?
yeah.
Yes. And then you said,
They are the biological clones of no, sorry, the offsprings are the biological clones of their parents.
you were saying something about gametogenesis before, that gametogenesis.
Yeah.
Okay, before
There is
just
no
1 second, just 1 second. Aisha, before you talk about gametogenesis, so Nida, this is again about terminology. Can you tell me what does the word gametogenesis means? So if a question comes, 1 marker, what is gametogenesis? Because I'm sure that Aisha and Afifa must be knowing this already. So let's come to you. So you're on the same page. Nida, can you figure out what is gametogenesis? What does it means? There are two words, gameto and genesis. So gameto means gametes, right? Clear.
Yes.
And what does genesis means? Any idea? So this could be the yes. So let's go to Afifa. Afifa, what does gametogenesis means?
Production of gametes.
Yes, the word genesis is production. Okay, Nida. So gametogenesis is production of gametes. If I say spermatogenesis, then
Production of sperms.
yes. And I say oogenesis. Oogenesis is
Production of ovum.
ovum or oocytes. Okay. Okay. So anything with genesis means it's production. So you can write this down in your terminology section. The first thing, the word genesis is associated with production, and the word kinesis is associated with breakdown. Okay. Or division. So yes, coming back to you, Aisha, what were you saying about gametogenesis in asexual mode?
I was saying, what I was saying, I was saying that there is no.
Does gametogenesis happens or does not happens in asexual?
No.
No.
There is no gamete fusion, right?
There is no gamete fusion. Gamete fusion is fertilization. When
Yeah.
the gametes fuse, gametogenesis is
But
production.
that
Yes.
only one parent is involved.
Yes, right. So can one parent not form gametes, Afifa? What do you think? Can a single parent not form gamete? Gamete for
They can.
they can, right? So gamete formation can happen. Even if gamete formation is happening, even if gametogenesis is happening, it does not mean that there is sexual reproduction now. Because for sexual reproduction to happen, we need gamete fusion, which Aisha has already told us that it does not happen. But gametogenesis may or may not happen. Sorry, what happened? And can you see me, people? Yes, you can, right?
Yes.
Yes. So gametogenesis may or may not happen, right on? So even if it is happening, but the gametes are not fusing, still it can be asexual. But the third thing that Aisha said, that gamete fusion, okay, and by gamete fusion I mean fertilization. Now this process does not happen. Okay, everyone? So gamete fusion does not happen. Is it clear? But gametogenesis may or may not happen. Even if there is a gamete present, it's not a problem. Now, yes, now coming back to the point, Aisha, what were you telling about biological clones or something?
Basically, clones are the Xerox copy of their parents.
Mhm.
They are same just like their parents, and mostly it happens in asexual reproduction. That
What do we mean when you say that they are just like their parents? What do you mean by this statement?
like if we see in sexual reproduction, only some specific features of the parents are there in offsprings, right? But
Mhm.
in asexual reproduction, they are just the exact copy of their parents.
Why are they exact copies of their parents? What is the reason?
Because only one parent is not answer.
Yes, right. You're right that because there is only one parent is involved, but still they could have been different from that one parent. No?
They are
Even
not
if there is,
like in asexual reproduction, like the organisms, they are not much more detailed than the higher mode of uh,
Asha always goes around the bush. She never beats the bush directly. But I think if others understood what she's trying to say, Afifa, can you just polish the answer and give me the answer? I'm asking that what do we mean by biological clones? Do you have any idea? Why do we? Yes.
Biological clones, they mean the replicates of one like parent.
Yeah, but what do we mean by replicates? Why are they exactly same like a parent?
Because there's no gametic fusion, so there's no any other what do you call it, gametes which define another characteristic. It's just like the same thing is being passed on to the offspring. There's no
So
variation.
exactly, because there is no genetic variation. The word genetic variation is very, very important. And if you see, when you write answers in your boards, let me give you a quick tip. How can you score more in boards? This tip was given to me by my biology teacher back then in school, and it really worked. So I was also struggling with a similar kind of a problem where I used to understand the concepts. I used to like biology, loved biology, but whenever it was about writing the answers, i I was bad with using those words which should be there in my answer. So if you are writing anything about asexual reproduction and you do not use the word genetic, like it does not, the offsprings do not have genetic variation, hence they are biological clones. Even if you have written this much, you will get full marks, because when the copy is checked, they look for certain words. They do not look for a big like one page answer all the time. Do you understand, everyone? Aisha, Nida, and Afifa, what you have to take care of, you have to use certain words that explains your case, your answer, and justifies it. Okay, yes, so write down. I think you, these 3 points you have noted, write down. Offsprings are biological clones, and biological clones of their parent and each other. So they are similar to their parents and they are also similar to each other. Okay, and the reason is because there is no genetic variation. No genetic variation. Is it clear? All of you?
Yes.
Yes, perfect. Now, in asexual reproduction, we know that gamete fusion does not happen, so there is no genetic variation, so they are all biological clones, and only one parent or sex is involved. Now, this word sex is more important because if we use the word parent, parent means a body, right? Parent means an organism. Am I right? Yes or no?
Yes.
And there can be a single parent with both the sexes present in the same body undergoing sexual reproduction through self-fertilization. So by using the word parent, we actually cannot clearly distinguish between hermaphrodites and non-hermaphrodites. You know what does hermaphrodite word means? Anyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes. What does it mean, Aisha?
Both the sex, that is male, and both the sex, that is testes and ovary, are present in one body.
Yes, so both the sexes are present in the same body, or hermaphrodites have the capability to switch or change their sex because both the sexes are present. It may be possible that at one time only one sex is active, the other is not active, but they can do an active switch, or they may have both present at the same time and active. Is it clear to everyone? So write down, let's define hermaphrodites. Write down the question, what are hermaphrodites? Down. A hermaphrodite is an organism. Hermaphrodite is an organism which has both types of reproductive organs. In bracket, write both sexes. Which has both types of reproductive organs. And can produce both gametes and can produce both types of gametes associated with the organs. Both sexes and both types of gametes. Now, is it clear to all three of you?
Yes, sir.
Now let me ask you a question. This is a question for, let's say, a FIFA. So if both type of gametes are present in the same body, okay, let's say at the same time, let's assume, then only with one body can it still do sexual reproduction or not among itself?
Cannot.
Yes.
It cannot.
Why?
Because like both type of gamete fusion, like in one cell in one body, may not be possible.
No, but there are both organs as well. So testes and ovaries both are present. So testes will produce sperms. Now the sperms from the same testes can be used to fertilize the ovum in the same body. Can't it? You have to release the sperm outside the body, then those sperms need to come back to the ovum and fertilize it. That is called self-fertilization. It happens easily in plants. Remember, in plants, there are bisexual flower having both the male and female. You must have studied about this in lower classes, that there is something called bisexual flower. Remember, Afifa?
Yes.
So the flower which has both the organs, male and female, and the male produces pollen grains, which is the male gamete, and it can go and land on the stigma of the same flower and can fertilize the flower. That is called self-fertilization. Yes or no?
Yes.
So isn't it possible with yes, it is possible with a single body involved. So that's why using the word sex is better than using the word parent. So only one single sex is involved or one single parent is involved. Both can be used. But I was just telling you that in case of hermaphrodites, the same body has both the sexes. Okay, is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. Now, talking about asexual mode, will come a little detail. We'll come into the details of it. Now, asexual mode. Write down certain points. Write down. Asexual mode is the only mode of reproduction. Is the only mode of reproduction in unicellular organisms. Now, can anyone give me justification for this statement? Can you think of a reason? When I say that in unicellular organisms, only asexual mode is present.
Can I
Yes,
share?
yes, Aisha.
Basically, asexual mode of reproduction happens in plants and organisms, and unicellular organisms. In unicellular organisms, they have what to say? They do like unicellular organisms. They reproduce by what we are saying binary fission, vegetative propagation, and those stuff. And
But my
and
question, yes.
no, I mean to say is unicellular organisms like they aren't much detailed and what we are saying.
Yeah,
They
you're going towards the right way.
they are
Yes,
like they aren't much specialized and detailed as the as
as multicellular organisms, right? Yeah. So anyone else, Nida or Afifa, would like to just polish the answer or give another answer? My question is, why in unicellular organisms only asexual mode is possible? Why not sexual mode? Why unicellular organisms cannot undergo sexual mode?
because they are one-celled organisms. I mean,
Yes, this is what
only
you.
one
Mhm.
is.
Your voice is breaking in between, Aisha, I believe.
I said well, because it's only one-celled organism.
Yes, that is why it's called unicellular organisms. But then, what is the problem? Why it cannot undergo sexual reproduction? It's very simple an answer. Just like because yes, Afifa.
Sexual reproduction requires gametic fusions, but in unicellular organisms, since it is a single cell, they may not be even able to produce gametes themselves.
Yes. So forget about fusion. You're right. The first thing important is gamete formation, gametogenesis, right? Now, unicellular organisms cannot make another unicellular cell, which is a gamete, specialized cell, right? To make a specialized cell for a specialized function, you need an organ, right? Yes or no? You need testes or ovaries, which are multicellular organs, which is not possible in a unicellular organism, correct? So it cannot undergo, just write down the next line. Unicellular organisms cannot undergo gametogenesis or fertilization. Gametogenesis and gamete fusion. And because of this reason, they only have to depend on asexual mode. Clear? Simple, right? But this is how you have to write it. I know you all understand, but when it's about orienting your answer, if you do not orient it properly in biology, then you will lose some marks. You're following, Nida? Is it?
Yes.
Perfect. Now, talking about lower organisms first, let's talk about unicellular organisms. In unicellular organisms, the asexual mode involves, first thing is binary fission. Correct? These are all just basic fundamentals. So we'll first clear all this out, then we'll go into details. Now, what is binary fission? What does the word binary means? Binary means
Two.
two. And the word fission means?
Fusion. It fused to daughter cell.
What does the word?
Two
So these two words are opposite of each other. What does the word fusion means?
Combining.
Combining, getting together. So what is fission means?
Dividing.
Getting, splitting apart or dividing. Remember atomic fission? No? In physics, you've not heard of fission? The reactors, the nuclear energy, we get this when you get atomic fission done, you produce lots and lots of energy. So fission is splitting apart. Okay. So binary fission means, can anyone tell me?
Same. It is in this process. Parent organisms divides into two daughter cells.
Yes. So there's a parent cell which divides from the center and becomes two daughter cells. And because it is two from one, it is called binary. There is something called multiple fission as well. So now, by understanding binary fission, can you tell me what multiple fission must be meaning, Nida? Multiple fission. What do you think is multiple fission? You there, Nida? Can you hear me? If Nida is not able to hear me, then FIFA. Multiple fission.
Splitting into multiple cells. A parent
Yes.
cell splitting into multiple cells.
Yes, but you understood that in both the cases, the parent is splitting and producing the daughter cells, right? Now, pay attention and tell me. So this parent cell had, this is the genome. So it had, the genome got split and was shared. Now this is generation 1, correct? And this is generation 2, correct? Yes or no?
Yes.
Now when generation 2 came in existence, what happened to the generation 1? Where did it go?
It divides instead of dying, it divides into two daughter cells.
Yes, so where did it go? Where is the first generation? FIFA.
It's actually gone. It divided itself into its daughter cells, so it's present that.
Yes, so basically the parent generation becomes the next generation itself, right? It's not like human where parents give birth to their babies and parents are there to get old, aged, and then finally they will have undergo natural death, and then the offsprings will grow and become adult and go through the same cycle, correct? Here you see that the parent cell, after it has reached a certain growth size, it can just simply divide into two daughter cells, right? So this is the parent cell only, correct? Yes or no? Now further on, what will happen? They will also grow to big size and then they will also divide into two, correct? So from one cell, after let's say 5 generations, there'll be numerous, like dozens of cells, but basically they all came from the parent cell itself. Yes or no? So did this parent generation ever died biologically in this scenario?
No.
How did it die? Like, can you see a natural death for the parent cell?
No.
Yes, Afifa, you're answering?
No, there's no natural death for the parent cell. It's just that it's kind of like reincarnated.
Yes, so basically there is no concept of biological mortality for a unicellular organism that reproduces through binary fission. Is it clear, Aisha? Because see, pay attention, this cell is never dying. Instead of dying, it is dividing into two and becoming the daughter cells again. And then when it will age and become, when it will grow and become big, it will again it will not die, it will just divide into two. So technically there is no concept of biological mortality. Yes, Afifa, you may, but don't miss the next class, okay? Because I'm going into details of a lot of things. So the class that I gave you was an overall outlook. So we'll be going into the details and questions that has come in entrances and in boards as well. Okay.
Okay. When is the next class, sir?
So it is Thursday and Tuesday.
Okay.
Okay. Tuesday and Thursday batch. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Yes. Okay. Okay, Aisha and Nida, pay attention. So there is not a concept of biological mortality. Do you understand, Aisha? Why? Yes. Yes, Aisha. You have a question? Aisha, you're not audible to me if you are speaking.
No, I said yes, I understand.
Okay, you understand. Perfect. So write down unicellular organisms. Unicellular organisms that reproduce through binary fission. Through binary fission are biologically immortal. Are biologically immortal. Is it clear? We can kill a bacteria by toxins, like which we always do. Whenever there is a bacterial infection in our body, what do we do to treat the infection? Tell me, what do we do, Aisha? What will you do when you will become a doctor?
You mean to say I will kill the insects?
What?
You said me. You asked what would you do to kill? You said right, like.
I'm asking how will you treat a bacterial infection, Nida?
Medicines,
What medicines?
antibiotics.
Antibiotics. So what do antibiotics do? They are called antibiotics because they are against life. Anti means against, bio means life. So they are antibiotics. They are against the life of this bacteria, whatever we are using. So if it is antibiotics have different types. If it is antifungal, it treats fungal infection. If it is antibacterial, it treats bacterial infection. If it is antiviral, it treats viral infection. But they kill this bacteria, right? Whatever the bacterial growth is, they kill bacteria. So it is possible to kill bacteria like through toxins or through like artificially, but we are talking about natural biological death. So there is no concept of natural death in a unicellular organism. Is it clear to both of you?
Yes.
Yes, perfect. Now write down about binary fission. Let's define binary fission. Write down in binary fission, a parent unicellular organism. In binary fission, a parent unicellular organism divides to give rise to two daughter cells. If it is a multiple fission, it is more than two daughter cells. Clear? So this is the first thing that you understood through binary fission. The second important thing is, if you pay attention, so what is a binary fission? Basically, isn't it just a cell division? It is one cell. A bacteria is a single cell and it is dividing, right? So isn't it just like a cell division only?
Yeah.
So do cell division happens in our body? Does it happen in our body?
Yeah.
For what purpose?
For many purposes.
For example, name some general purposes for which cell division
Like,
happens. One is,
shall I say one thing?
yes, what?
For example, uh, when we are in our mother's womb, so we are just a one cell, right? And we divide repeatedly.
Yes, so to growth,
And
you mean to say growing and developing as an embryo, we need cell divisions. Perfect. Nida, can you think of any other example where cell division is important in our body?
Yeah,
Yes.
when the cells become old, or they
Yes.
rupture.
Yes. So they die, and to take
Yeah.
their position, many newer cells are formed after division and differentiation, right? Also, when you get wounded, when there is any injury, right? So to heal that wound, the nearby cells divide and heal that area, right? Yes or no?
yes,
So cell,
basically it divides for the appearance and functions of the body. I have
Mhm.
learned somewhere. Yeah.
Yes. So cell division is happening in multicellular organisms to achieve a lot of different functions. But in a unicellular organism, if we see if it is reproducing through binary fission, cell division itself is a mode of reproduction, isn't it? If a unicellular organism have to reproduce, if it has to make its copies, all it has to do is just divide. So the moment you divide, now there are two copies from one, correct? So keep dividing. So division is equal to reproduction in unicellular organisms. Is it clear? So write down cell division. Cell division is itself a mode of reproduction. A mode of reproducing in unicellular organisms. Okay, Aisha and Nida. Perfect. So if question comes on how cell division is a mode of reproducing, or why unicellular organisms are biologically immortal, you both will write answers. You will be able to write answers. Yes or no? Yes. Okay. So this is binary fission. Binary fission is the examples of binary fission are, write down. Yes, Aisha, you're saying something?
Yeah.
Yes. What are the examples of binary fission? Your voice is breaking. It's bacteria, amoeba. Okay. Okay. Now let's come to, apart from binary fission. So binary fission is the simplest way to reproduce. It's one cell divides and make two cells, two copies. So both the two offsprings are actually derived from parents only, but now from one there are two. So it is a reproduction. The word reproduction, we didn't go through this word, but Nida, now you will be understanding it better. So Nida, tell me, the word re means, what does the word re means? Retest, re-examination, Nida? Re means
Again.
yes.
Oh,
It's again. And production means to produce, right?
yes.
So reproduction means to produce something again. In a cycle, you are producing something again, just like similar to yourself as a parent. So the rule in reproduction is you need to have two individuals or more individuals from one. So there has to be copies, or from two, there has to be two or one more. So it has to add to the number of individuals. Then only it can be said as a reproduction process. Now, apart from binary fission, the other way to reproduce is budding. This can also happen in a unicellular as well as in a multicellular organism. So what do you understand by budding from your junior classes? Nida? Budding.
It is a process, it is an asexual reproduction.
Yes.
And
Everything that we will study is in asexual only. But what does the word budding tells you? Continue. Yes, right.
it forms a bud and it develops into a bud, and then
Mhm.
it
And
attaches itself.
it detaches itself after some time, right?
Yeah,
Yes, perfect. So let's take an example of a unicellular. If I take an example of a unicellular organism, then it will be yeast. You know what is an yeast?
yes,
Yeast is a unicellular eukaryote. Class 11th, prokaryotic and eukaryotic organism. Do you remember this? What is a eukaryote, Nida? What are prokaryotes and eukaryotes?
eukaryotes have a nucleus and a nuclear envelope.
Yes, so they have a defined
True
nucleus.
nucleus.
Yes, the word "u" means true. Okay, so u means true. The same word is used in eubacteria, which means true bacteria. And the word karyotes comes from the word karyon. You can write it down in your terminology section. The word karyote comes from the word karyon, and karyon means nucleus. So eukaryote means true nucleus. And by true nucleus, it means that their nucleus is well guarded with a membrane around it. Okay, it's a double membranous shield. So eukaryotes are mostly multicellular, but yeast is a unicellular eukaryote. Will you remember this, Nida?
Yes.
Now, on a yeast, it can reproduce through budding. So a small bud. So this mother cell will also have a nucleus of its own, and this daughter cell will also have a nucleus of its own. So it will attach, it will develop as a bud. It was slower in the beginning, then it grew, and then it will grow even bigger after some time. And after some time, when it reaches a particular size, it gets detached. And as a result, you get a parent organism and an independent daughter organism. Is it clear? This is daughter cell and this is parent cell. Now tell me, Nida, how is budding different from a binary fission? There also, there were two, the cell was dividing and two things were forming. Here also, you can see that a parent cell is there and a daughter cell is there. So how is it different? Can you see the difference?
No.
No? See again, see carefully. Aisha's back. Aisha, can you hear me? Aisha, am I audible to you?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now see,
Because
see, Here, the parent cell, when it divided into two daughter cells, the existence of the parent cell was gone, right? Yes or no?
Yes.
But here, the parent cell had a bud on it. It starts growing like a pimple. A very small bud comes, then it starts growing and growing, and finally it reaches a size where it detaches. And then there is one daughter cell and one parent cell. So this parent cell, which was here, is still present, right? Here, it just made a bud, and there is only one daughter cell produced. In case of fission, there were two daughter cells produced. Yes or no? So can you see the difference, Nida?
Yes.
Yes. Now, those the yeast which divides, which reproduces through budding, it can still die. The parent cell sometimes give rise to only one daughter cell. It can also give rise to multiple daughter cell. So there is one parent cell. Okay. This is also possible. This is the parent yeast. I should use the word yeast. And then there is a chain of buds associated with this is called multiple buds would be there on the yeast. So this is called chain of buds. Is it clear, Nida?
Yes.
Now, all of these individual buds can grow and develop as individual organisms and can give rise to multiple daughter cells. So here you will have a parent cell which will still be there, and along with this there will be multiple daughter buds. Yes. So the number is not limited. So these are daughter buds. After one point of time, then when they are capable of living independent, they gets detached and they start living as individual organisms. Is it clear? But the parent is still there, which was not there in fission. Is it clear, Nida?
Yes.
Yes. So write down. Let's define budding. Aisha, you're there? Am I audible to you? Aisha is not speaking or not able to speak. I don't know. Write down. In budding, in the process of budding, a small outgrowth known as a bud starts growing on the parent body. In budding, a small outgrowth known as bud starts growing on a parent's body. Full stop. It derives nutrition and shelter. It derives nutrition and shelter from the parent and detaches after reaching maturity and detaches after reaching maturity and starts living as an independent individual. and starts living as an independent individual. Is it understood, Nida and Aisha?
Yes.
Yes. Now budding does not only happen in unicellular. So in unicellular organisms, yeast. Are you trying to say something, Nida, or this is Aisha?
It's Aisha.
Okay. So the example is yeast in a unicellular. Budding also happens in multicellular organisms like Hydra. So in Hydra, it has a base which is attached to it, has a mouthpiece, and it has tentacles. This is a Hydra. So in Hydra, a small outgrowth will start, which will look like a mini Hydra. Okay. Can you see this? So this will be a bud. Now this is a. Yes, Aisha, you're audible now. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, your voice is breaking a little bit. I think it's because of network issue, but if you can hear me, it's well and good. You can continue. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Now this is a small bud, but this in this case, it is a multicellular bud. Is it clear, Nida and Aisha?
Yes.
Because the organism is Hydra and it is a multicellular organism. Now over time, so this is the parent Hydra. So you have to draw this, keep drawing this. Over time, the parent Hydra will still be there, but this bud will also be like it will get detached. So this bud will develop, and once it reaches a certain size, it gets detached from the parent and starts living as it's the daughter Hydra. Is it clear? So write down, budding takes place both in unicellular and multicellular lower organisms. Budding happens both in unicellular organisms and multicellular lower organisms. Okay, so is budding clear? Examples are yeast and Hydra. Shall I move forward? Have you drawn? Did you note down and did you draw everything, Nida?
Yes.
Okay. Now we have understood fission in the simplest, most unicellular organism, the simplest form of asexual reproduction. Then we went to budding, which is slightly complex than that. Now the third thing is fragmentation. You have also read about fragmentation in your junior classes. Remember fragmentation? Can you tell me, Nida, what do we mean by fragmentation? And Aisha, if you can speak. Nida, what is fragmentation?
It is the process of breaking or being broken into fragments.
Yes, clearly. So the term itself has fragments. So fragmentation means breaking down into pieces, right?
Yes.
Breaking into pieces. And then what happens? Why do we study fragmentation under the mode of reproduction? See here in budding, why it is a mode of reproduction? Because we are getting a daughter Hydra, right, from a parent hydra. So this is reproduction. An offspring is being produced, right? What is happening in fragmentation? Tell me. What is happening to these pieces? Each piece will develop into a new individual organism. Is it clear, Nida? Write down. Yes, write down. In the process of fragmentation, the organism breaks down. Into several fragments. And each fragment.
Sir, can you please repeat again?
Yes. In the process of fragmentation, an organism breaks down into several fragments. Breaks down into multiple, you can write multiple or several fragments. And each fragment develops into a new organism. So if suppose there were 4 fragments, then there will be now 4 organisms. So it is a process of reproduction because we are producing new organisms. Is it clear? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes. Now I have a question. When the organism splits into fragments, do you think that the organism can fragment itself on its own?
Yes.
Can it just fragment itself by will? Not all the time, okay? So it can fragment itself in some cases, like Spirogyra is one case. But for fragmentation, most of the organisms have to depend on an external factor. That external factor will first lead to fragmenting the organism, and then each organism will develop into a new, each fragment will develop into a new organism. Is it clear? Now, examples of fragmentation is again Hydra. Hydra is one example. Now, earlier we have studied that in Hydra, it can also reproduce through budding, and it can also reproduce through fragmentation. So in a fragmenting Hydra, so this is a Hydra, let's try to fragment it. Okay. If I just make fragments of this Hydra, so I have cut the Hydra into 3 fragments, let's say. Okay. Now from these 3 fragments, there will be 3 new Hydras. Okay. 3 individual Hydra will grow. Clear, everyone? It is to such an extent in Hydra that if you squish a Hydra, like if you make, just put it in mixer and squish it and make a lots of different pieces of Hydra, each piece, each fragment has the capability to grow into a new Hydra, complete new Hydra. Okay. In this case, if it is 3, then 3 individual Hydras will be found. And apart from Hydra, another example is Planaria. In Planaria also it happens. Spirogyra. And certain starfishes also. So these are the examples. So fragmentation is quite simple for you to understand, right? break into pieces, but write one point. Most of the times, the organism has to depend on some external factor. Most of the time, the organism has to depend on some external factor in order to get fragmented. In order to get fragmented. This is a very interesting thing that you have to keep in mind. Is fragmentation clear to you? Because now I'll be moving to another thing which oftentimes we get confused between the two. What is the difference? So fragmentation is clear to both Nida and Aisha. Then I'll move forward.
Yes.
Yes. Now there is something you must have read about this as well. This is called regeneration. You know what is regeneration, Nida? Just tell me what is regeneration.
So, reduction of new.
Production of new what? New.
Daughter cells.
Now we are talking about multicellular organism. So instead of saying daughter cells, you can say a new organism, an individual organism. So the word regenerate, again, what does the word re means?
Again.
And what does the word generate means?
Reduce.
To make something which was lost, right? Generate, which was there in the first place, then it got lost, and then you have to generate it back. When you are producing something, you can produce right from the scratch, right? It was not there, you produced it. It was there, it got lost, then you are now generating it back. Do you understand? So you're right, like producing it back after it got lost. So the difference between fragmentation and regeneration is that regeneration is more like an ability to grow back the lost body parts. Is it clear, Nida and Aisha? So let's define it. Write down what is regeneration. Regeneration is the ability of an organism. Regeneration is an ability of an organism to grow back the lost body parts. Grow back the lost body parts. Is it clear? And continue in that only to grow back lost body parts. And in some cases, in the bracket write down lower organisms. And in some cases, it is the ability to grow back. In some cases, it is the ability to grow back the whole organism from a lost body part. Written, Nida? Nida, am I audible? So is regeneration clear to you, Nida? Shall I move forward? Because I have to ask a question. So if you have written it, you must be realizing that in all the organisms, regeneration is not enough to produce a new organism. In most of the organism, it only is a ability by which you can regrow the lost body parts. For example, limbs or tail, etc. But in some organisms, which are lower organisms like Hydra and Planaria, through regeneration, the whole new individual can be formed. So for some, it is a mode of reproduction, but for higher organisms, it is not a mode of reproduction. Is it clear? It is just an ability to grow back the lost body parts. Is it clear? Yes or no? Quickly. Yes? Okay. Yes, Aisha. If you cannot speak, you can write in the chat, no problem. So let me complete it here. It's the ability to regrow. Now, for example, in a lizard, in a house lizard, you will see that a house lizard, okay, let's say if this is a house lizard. So in a house lizard, it has a tail, right? So if you cut the tail of a house lizard, okay, if the tail is cut or the house lizard has shed its tail like as a defense mechanism, now this tail can, when after it's cut, it can be regrown. Okay, tail can regrow. So in this case, it's a limited capability to regrow this tail only. Only this tail part can regrow back. But from the lost tail part, the whole body cannot regrow. So the tail part, the lost body part, cannot give rise to a new individual here. So for a lizard, it is not a mode of reproduction. Okay. Not a mode of reproduction. Whereas for a hydra, okay. So I take an example of an hydra again. Hydra can regenerate. So in a hydra, if I fragment a hydra into, let's say, multiple fragments, so like I am fragmenting it in multiple ways. Now each fragment, each part can regenerate into new hydra. So in this case, it is a mode of reproduction. Is it clear? It is a mode of reproduction. Okay, so we will discuss about it in detail in the next class on Tuesday. So I stop this class here. We have to discuss some in-depth things about regeneration, and then we'll go to spore formation as a asexual mode of reproduction. So I'll see you in next class, and let's stop here. Okay, Nida, do you have any questions before I? Yes, do you have any questions?
No.
Just remember that regeneration for some is a mode of reproduction, but for others it's not. And rest of the details we will discuss in the next class on Tuesday. Okay. Please go through the notes and please read NCERT. And your homework is, write down this homework before you come on Tuesday. You have to read about regeneration, one thing, and spore formation. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. And after this, I will move to plants. And in plants, the asexual reproduction is called vegetative propagation. So also read this. Just give it a reading from NCERT. Okay. Even if you cannot go into the detail, just read this. So this is your homework. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Then
Thank
see you in the next class. Nida, take care. Good night. Stay blessed.
Thank you.